Okay, we will be going through the transformation of graph of linear functions, and we've been doing functions at school creating slopes, and you will see that we'll be working off this f of x equals x graph that's represented here. We have a positive slope. So here we have our function f of x equals x, and that is going off of this equation here, y equals mx plus b. Remember, your m is your slope. So in front of this equation that we are looking at, we have an invisible 1 that is your slope. So this graph represents it goes up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1 to create that positive slope. Now with these equations that we'll be working with here, you will see g of x equals, and that's the same as that f of x. Okay, so as we are going through, I might say f of x or I might say g of x as I'm putting it in a calculator. They're both the same representation. So it asks us to sketch the graph of each function along with this parent function here. So you can go ahead and put that parent function in. It goes down and around for each one, straight line, diagonal, positive slope through each equation. And I know I did not do a great job there, but that's just to show it there. So, okay, we'll be going and using Desmos calculator. This is online if you are able to use it. I know we usually use the calculators in class. This does the same function, the same things that our calculator will do. So I've already put our parent function in here, f of x equals x, and I will move it again so you can see it better in a moment. And then I'm going to add in our next expression. So I go up to the plus and I hit f of x expression. So I'm going to type in, I know it says g of x on your paper, remember it is the same. So f of x equals x plus 4. So that's already been inputted onto my graph. Let me move the screen back so you can see it a little bit more. And you will see that the parent function here is this black function. It goes up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1. And this next graph does the same thing. It goes up 1, over 1, but it has moved up or translated up to 4. Okay? So it crosses the y-axis at positive 4, and it crosses the x-axis at negative 4. And I realize this graph is larger than what you have on your paper. So how would you input this on on A? You would put a dot here at 4, a dot here at negative 4, and you would connect the dots to make a line between negative 4 and 4. Okay? So your parent function goes here in the middle, and then the translated function goes here between negative 4 and 4. And it looks like it would go off the page if you continued. And that's okay. Now we'll work on B. G of x equals x plus 2. So if this one moved up 4, where do you think this one is going to be translated to? Okay, so I'm back at Desmos, and I put a new function in, f of x equals x plus 2. All right, and I'm going to change this function color so we can see it a little bit better. Okay, so I will move this down so we can see our functions a little bit better. We have our parent function here, f of x equals x, and it goes through our graph. And our function that we did first was f of x equals x plus 4. That's represented in blue. And then the one that we just did, f of x equals x plus 2. And that's been translated up to positive 2 on the y, and it goes through negative 2 on the x. It's the same function, the same length, same angle, and it's just being translated up into a different starting point. So on your worksheet, you would be having your parent function go here, and then it would be translated up to positive 2 on y and negative 2 on x, and you would create a line that would go through both points to represent this function g of x equals x plus 2. Okay, for our last two functions, we are switching it up. So if these two were translated up the y-axis because they are plus, what do you think is going to happen when we subtract? Okay, so we're going to look and see what happens to g of x equals x minus 2 and g of x equals x minus 4. So let's go back to Desmos and input those functions. Okay, back at Desmos, and we have inputted these functions. F of x equals x minus 2, and that's our first translation here. So it has translated down to negative 2 on the y-axis. So you'll have negative 2 on the y and positive 2 on the x, and you can create a line here. So instead of translating up, it is translating down. So on your worksheet, you would have your parent function that goes straight through the point of origin, and then it will go through negative 2 and positive 2 and create a line that has translated down the y-axis. Okay, so for your last function, we have g of x equals x minus 4, and we'll go back to Desmos and put that in. All right, last function, f of x equals x minus 4, and that has already been in, and we will see with our graph what has happened. So here was our parent function that goes through 0. There's the last function we did at negative 2, and then the function here is at 0, negative 4, and the other point here is 4, 0. So it's crossing the x and y at 4. It creates a straight line, and that will be able to put onto your worksheet here. Your parent function should already be there, and then you'll have your points at negative 4, 0, or excuse me, 0, negative 4, and 4, 0, and put a line between those 2 points. And that's the end of this section. The next one we will do is comparing graphs of functions at the next time.